Hello, everybody. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, episode 200. This is a podcast that talks about pop culture, things that interest us. And sometimes there's whiskey. My name is John. My name is John, and I'm joined as always by Andrea. How's it going?
Oh, I'm good. Although super envious of your costuming skills, you daredevil, you. I feel like I should
Mhm.
have had like a black, you know, bob
Right.
wig and a trench coat, so then I could be in disguise as
Yeah.
as our main characters of the show we're discussing tonight are in hiding.
I'm sure you've got a few wigs, but I don't remember that
Not a
one in
black
your
bob. No,
closet. Mhm.
no. Gonna maybe have to
Mm.
add it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 200 episodes. That's pretty crazy. Tonight's going to be a little shorter one, but we're trying a new thing of like squeezing in the
Mhm.
premiere of a new show and then talking about it right afterwards. So, if anyone else caught the latest brand new episode 1 of season 2 of Daredevil Born Again on Disney Plus, jump on in the chat and
Mhm.
tell us your thoughts. So we'll be getting that shortly. Before that, might talk a little bit about what else we've been doing, and we have some drink holidays to that maybe you're all celebrating out there.
Yeah, yeah. It's a drink holiday today, in fact. So cheers and raise a glass if you are celebrating. It is easy to do today because it is National Cocktail Day. So, you know, you can take that to mean whatever you want. Otherwise, in a few short days on a Friday, you can celebrate International Whiskey Day. Feels very appropriate to the show. Obviously, Daredevil. Um, that's a lot of drink of choice of many characters there. So,
Yeah.
if you're celebrating, that is a good day. Otherwise, coming up in the coming weeks, we have, oh my gosh, it's already almost April. And if you're excited to move into the fourth month of the year, you can celebrate on the 6th. It is New Beer's Eve, followed logically, of course, by April 7th's National Beer Day. Uh, I don't really know why this is New Beer's Eve and National Beer Day. It should be New Beer Day, if we're following the actual holiday itself, but I digress. It's still funny. And then on April 9th, a classic cocktail just to kind of round out our drink holidays to look forward to. It is Gin and Tonic Day, one of my favorite go-to cocktails. Though not
Okay.
for everybody. Gin is a very divisive spirit, I feel like. So,
I think so too. Um,
mhm,
but I I don't know. At least for me, in coming of drinking age, um, it was divisive because it depends on where you start with that. Gin
mhm.
varies so widely,
Yes.
or wildly. I mean, I think there's a for me, for the uncouth palate I have, I guess, on when it comes to whiskey, I can taste a lot of different whiskeys, and I'm not the best at discernment. But
Sure.
when it comes to gin, sometimes it's really in your face, like how different it is.
Yes.
It's not subtle. And so
Yes.
I think if someone says they don't like gin, try a couple more because it might be,
Mhm.
you might, have very different results.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, palate difference. There's a lot of, it's not exactly flavor, but, um, like, there's a wide difference between, like, botanicals, herbs, like a more floral gin, a more citrus forward gin. There's a lot of, like, compliments, I think is the word I'm looking for, to, the essence of gin, that can make it, you know, widely varied in its flavor
Mhm.
profile and its taste. I think my first taste of gin was, Chris's sister, bought us shots of gin, of, like, the cheapest gin,
Oh,
the most piney forward, pine sol tasting. You just swallowed a tree branch from a pine tree kind of gin.
mhm.
And she did that as punishment for failing to close out a frame in bowling. And that
Ah,
that was my first experience with gin, which you'd think it would put me off, but then I had a spirit called Malort's, and that is
yes.
like, yeah, that's like pine tree mixed with, like, rubber bands and burnt tar marks on the road. It literally tastes like, ugh, just everything you've ever had that's awful, in liquid form. So, gin didn't really seem bad by comparison, so I started kind of experimenting with other flavor profiles and have really come to
Sure.
enjoy gin.
Okay. Well, are you enjoying gin tonight?
Sadly, no. Sadly, no.
Oh, no.
I am exhausted, and I am drinking an energy drink called
Okay.
Revive.
Wow.
I
Okay.
know, I know. I unfortunately have some work to do, so I gotta keep myself up a little bit, but I am drinking a drink called Revive. It felt very, like, in spirit with Born Again, and I have a little decoration on my
Ah,
glass
very
there.
nice. I like it. What are those? They look like 3D Doritos.
I know. They're strawberries.
Oh, okay, okay. That makes more sense.
They do. They totally look like, 3D Doritos, which throwback if you're a '90s
I
child.
know,
Love it.
I could use one right now, actually, that sounds
Mhm.
good.
I love it.
So, very nice. Well, I'm not being, Debbie Downer like I have been last podcast for
Party!
sure.
Party John is
Um,
back.
yeah. Alan says Pepsi Ice. Should they have Pepsi Ice with their 3D Doritos?
Oh my god. Oh, Pepsi Ice.
Mhm.
What a
No,
failure.
I'm celebrating today's
Mm.
holiday. National Cocktail Day,
Oh,
and
what?
this is one that I'd heard of from there's a James Bond fan channel I mentioned before. Analyze This Mr. Bond is what it's called, and he's been talking about some of the different cocktails and how like Ian Fleming really didn't like the martini. It's not, and how he looking at like a lot of Bond's drinks. The martini was not. I guess he was talking about the Vesper. Like it's really not a well balanced drink in his mind and whatever. And he has the Vesper like in the one book. It's a drink made for someone else in their name and kind of leaves that behind with her.
Yep,
Anyways, talking about different cocktails, and one that's often bandied about as one of the betters is a Negroni.
of course.
That's gin, Campari, and vermouth. But there's a different drink that um, Ryan from this channel is suggesting that is more forgotten about. That's basically the same thing about replacing the gin with bourbon, and
Mm,
it's called a Boulevier. Yeah,
okay.
Boulevier. Um, and
Fancy.
yeah, it's all that's different. So I have bourbon, sweet vermouth, and Campari, and that's the first time trying it. We'll see.
All right. Well, I hope it is tasty. And also, Alan would like to correct himself on Pepsi Ice. He was thinking of Crystal Pepsi, which is definitely what I
Mm,
thought of, but I thought it also was called Pepsi Ice. But yes, Crystal
okay.
Pepsi.
Okay. 1992 to 94.
Yes, us
Interesting.
sweet 90s children.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever tried it, but I do recommend trying the uh Boulevier.
Okay. You said bourbon
It's
and I
good.
immediately thought branch water because
Right.
that is such a
Mm,
classic bond, a book bond cocktail.
yeah.
So,
I don't to be clear, I don't think this drink is in the Bond. If it is, he did mention it. It's not in the Bond books. It's just
sure.
a variation of when you're looking at different cocktails, like, well, maybe this is one that's deserving to come back. Um,
Sure.
yeah, and I mean, I still love a good Negroni, but if you're feeling uh,
A little
bourbon, brown liquor
adventurous.
instead of gin, yeah,
Mhm.
give it a shot. So,
Cool. Good to know.
cheers, um,
Cheers.
Andrea. It looks like your list has been empty here of what's going on.
Yep.
What's been happening? Okay,
Yep. Yeah, my husband has been
nose
out
to
of
the
the country
grindstone.
for 11 days and I have been watching my children and yeah, the closest thing I got to watching anything I wanted was that I made them not watch um My Little Pony and I made them put on some Bluey.
Okay. Well,
Yay.
mhm. Definitely, yeah, definitely. If you gotta suffer through something, Bluey's gonna be the better of the bunch in a lot of
Indeed.
circumstances.
Indeed.
I make my kids watch Star Wars or something. I'm like, here's Star Wars Rebels. Watch some of that. Here's some of the
Yes.
Star Wars visions. Watch this. Uh, here's
They did.
Batman.
Yeah, they did watch something I felt like that I was really excited to share with them, and I can't remember what it is now. I'm gonna think of it randomly in the middle of the show because that's parent life, and parent brain.
Yeah,
But they did
go back
watch
to
something that
Turtles.
I was I was really excited about. And they were both very kindly or very excitingly for me asking for Pokemon. Um,
Hmm,
but Chris has like the skinny on um
right.
all the seasons of Pokemon. Oh, which I owe you. So we didn't watch that. But yeah, I was like touched by how much they were like, Pokemon, we have to watch it. Oh,
I
they
took a
watched
little
old
video.
school Scooby Doo. That's what they watched.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Yeah, like old school, you know, original cartoon, not like super new stuff or like I know there's a
Right.
million reboots of Scooby Doo and stuff like that, but yeah, they were into
Ignore
the
them.
old
Yeah.
stuff.
Hmm.
So that
Yeah.
was fun.
It was so funny today. I tried to get on video. My daughter said Pokeball, and my son just laughed and said, "Not Pokeball, Pokeball." and he's just
Oh,
laughing about it.
that's so cute.
He's like
That's
looking at me, "Isn't that funny?"
adorable.
She said "pokeball," not "pokeball."
So cute.
He's
Oh, I love
so,
that.
yeah.
Well,
So
actually,
that's,
it's,
yeah, Pokemon.
yeah, that's literally, like, the most, cultured thing I've done is watch Scooby-Doo old school,
Nice.
which, funnily enough, has some ties to our main topic tonight.
Investigation?
No, I mean, yes,
Ship
but
sinking?
no, but a person who is a new character on the show did play a member of the Scooby Gang in a live
Oh, yes, of
action
course.
movie.
Matthew Lillard, yes, okay.
Yes, yes.
I
So
I should have got that immediately, that was shame on me. So,
that is a little shame on you. I mean, we started out. Oh, I gave you so many clues in this, or our show has given you so many clues in the sense of like all of us talking about '90s things, old
yeah,
school people coming back. So yeah, Matthew
yep,
Lillard is a character in Daredevil. Spoilers,
yeah,
kind of because we're not saying who he is yet, but yeah,
right. Yeah, very cool. Well, speaking of going back, I've been, I'm going to go backwards in time here from release on the things I've done, the main things. So, Ball Pit was one thing that I've wanted to
yeah.
play, and I wanted something. Ashley has Pocopia or Pocopia, however you want to say it, and
Oh
she's
yeah, sure.
obsessed with it. She loves it very much and is playing it all the time. It's a great casual game.
Pokemon
Um,
Go had, like, a whole, event centered around that actually recently that I
okay,
played, and I was thinking of Ashley and loving how much, like you said, she loves that, and
yes.
thinking that, I need to check that out as well.
I do feel bad that I'm, like, missing out on this thing, whatever, but I was like,
Yeah,
"I'm just not gonna I just try not to spend as much money." I decided I wasn't gonna spend the full money on that right
sure.
now while I'm playing other stuff, and so I picked
Yeah,
up Ball Pit that is quite cheap, and Ball Pit is a fun, easy pickup kind of arcadey action thing that, is kinda hard to explain, but it's super engrossing. I haven't played it for a little bit, but it's just, short sessions, however we wanna do it,
mhm.
perfect for the Switch. So highly recommend that game so far. And then, much to Ashley's, elation and enjoyment, I am playing Mass Effect. I completed Mass Effect 1, the Legendary Edition. Um,
Nice.
I'm hoping to get maybe Tony on the podcast because he's also going through these games now too.
Oh,
Uh,
perfect.
he also beat 1, so if we kinda just talk about it, him from perspective of having replayed it, and me from the perspective of never having played it, just knowing a lot about it. So,
Yeah,
that's something that's been a lot of fun. And then I am well on my way to finishing Dune Messiah. I'm hoping to finish
excellent,
Dune Messiah by Detour this weekend. That's my plan, anyways.
excellent.
Really getting into it, and I'm very excited for the drama that is unfolding. So that's
Well,
been
speaking of Dune, I guess the only other, culturally relevant thing that I have done of note is to watch the trailer for Dune 3 that you sent over. So,
yeah.
that feels like I tried. I tried.
Yeah. I I'm very happy that I'm reading the Dune books, that I'm gonna have Dune
Mhm.
done before the film comes out. Um,
Yep.
I'm just still racking my brain as to how they're going to possibly correct some of the misalignments from the movies to the books.
Sure.
Uh, I just don't know how they're gonna do it, but I'm excited to find out. So, that's that. Um Another thing I've been excited to find out is if they can pull things together for Daredevil Born Again
Mhm.
2, because season 1 was kind of a mess. There was things we enjoyed, things we didn't.
Yes.
We could feel the you know, remixing of the batter in the background on the first one, and just yeah, it was strange. And so
Mhm.
find a cohesive path forward in season 2. And tonight we
Mhm.
got episode 1. Spoilers ahead, everyone.
Mhm.
And what's how we starting out? Does this seem like a promising start? They give us enough to go off of for that kind of, claim?
Yeah. Yeah, this definitely almost feels like an opening episode to a whole new show. I mean, I know we had season 1, but the way that this episode kind of felt in the intro, it felt almost like, okay, this is our real starting point. We have to acknowledge the events of season 1, and we are technically building a story that is a continuation, but it's almost like um this at this point is the real reboot, in the sense of, like, maybe they could pretend like season 1 is part of what happened a while ago, and this is the fresh start reboot. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Because the way that this opened, I just felt like it was exposition-y and, moving us in a new direction. Um, so I felt the new beginnings of this episode.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it had
Yeah.
in the recap, they called out the things that need to be called out, but they clearly left out some things too that aren't gonna be relevant, probably didn't need to
Yes.
be in the first season, but were for for whatever reason. And, yeah, they also had no problem calling out to, like, Ben Urich and showing his
Yeah.
picture from
Yeah,
the
wildly
Netflix
before.
pieces. Yeah,
Mhm.
mhm. So, I don't know. It's it did it feel, I mean, do you think you could watch this if you hadn't watched season 1 with that recap? Would it make enough sense that way?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Okay,
I
so it
just
still needs
felt
it.
Yeah, it still needs it. I just felt like the way that they were writing this episode was, they felt like they were trying to write from a square one, even though they know season 1 happened. It's just like the
Mhm.
kind of tone and the layout of the episode felt like, maybe we could just, you could all understand that we, the writers, are really starting from this point forward, um,
Uh-huh.
with our version and our material. So, yeah, it's not that events wise this starts in a new place, or completely cuts itself off from season 1. It very much is intertwined, and I don't think that you could watch this without. I mean, you could, but there would be a lot of gaps, I think. There would be too many to feel comfortable with.
Sure. I mean, a gap for me, I feel like if you is The Swordsman. If
Yeah.
I hadn't seen Hawkeye, the show, I'd be like, "Who is who is this guy?"
Yep.
I mean, the end of last season, but the 2, I just feel like that's important context because we've never seen this
Yep.
guy in action. Not even I mean, we see him a little bit do some things in Hawkeye, but
It's very
he's
tame.
yeah, and so really all of a sudden in season 1 of this, he's talking to Fisk and we have the whole thing, and I like the character. I think he's cool. I just, you know, I'd be feel more lost if I didn't have that context a little bit. But
Mhm.
I think starting with this first episode, I think it's a reasonable setup. We see where we're going. I think there's some good mystery involved here with like, okay, so we can talk about it. Matthew Lillard's character, he
Yeah.
comes and says he's from Langley. So he's a
Mhm. I didn't
guy.
expect that.
No. So Fisk is working with the feds or at least some agents within the
Right,
federal.
some part of
So,
it.
yeah. And so I it's interesting if are we setting up a larger villain than Kingpin or something? If Kingpin falls, we still have, there's still a threat there. So I think he's a really interesting character. I'm kind of happy to see him here. He's got the right blend so far of
Mhm.
Lillard quirkiness
Mhm.
with also feeling serious.
Yeah, yeah, he feels like he could stop being goofy and it would be a real problem.
Yeah.
Like you want him to be this sort of quirky persona that Matthew Lillard can do so well, but feels in this character like a show. It does feel like a face. It doesn't feel like the truth of Mr. Charles. God, I love the whole like every CIA agent's got to be a
Yeah.
Mr. something. Um so yeah, and I also think his character, to your point, um, both enhances and diminishes Fisk in a very interesting way in this season. In one part, we have a whole scene with Fisk as his official capacity as mayor, getting dressed down by the attorney general, saying like, "What are you doing with these vigilante trials? Like they are wildly out of pocket. You're just putting on a clown show, and I have to oversee this. I need to take this over." Matthew Lillard walks in, one phone call, whoops, defer to you, Mayor Fisk. Anything you want, I'm here, supportive. I'm chastened. I'm put in my place. You know,
Yeah.
Mayor Fisk clearly has high contacts. But yet, in another scene where Mr. Charles is sitting down with Fisk and Vanessa, and he's like, "What are you doing? Like, why am I coming in to clean up this logistics mess?" And, you know, oh, who is this guy who just like sank this boat and is now costing me logistics time and I have to do all of these moving pieces. It really made Fisk and he continues to say like, do you want me to do this or do you need to do this? And Fisk kind of defers to him and it made Fisk feel a little pointless. Like if you can't take care of this, if you can't, do the thing that you're supposed to do and move these weapons through the port and run this like smuggling thing, like what's the point of you? You know? So it was
Well,
a really it was a to me, watching it felt like an interesting diminishing of Fisk's power that he would defer to someone else and be like, "Okay, you do it. Like, you take care of it."
I mean, the crux of the issue, I always think, well, one of them with the Daredevil Born Again series is that we sort of we really resolved the Wilson Fisk thing. Like it was resolved so well in season 3 from Netflix.
Yes.
So we really should have moved on. But being they were gonna restart and ignore that and start over, all this sort of thing with Kingpin,
Right.
we're here now. We're here.
Yeah.
This is, so to come up with something for him to be different. What they did well, one of them in the Netflix series was when they involved the Hand, and that was a
Yeah.
going thing with Kingpin was he was incredibly threatening. You saw his power, you saw how connected he was, but then there was someone that still scared him. Like there was
Mhm.
a pecking order, and he still understood, and so that was great suspense. And
Yes.
wow, who could this be? Why are they so terrifying that the great Wilson Fisk, that people don't want to say his name, people won't even say his name, um, would be terrified of, and or at least have a serious respect for.
Mhm.
And my thought is maybe they can manage something like that again.
That's what I was thinking here too, and that's why I like, Mr. Charles as a character because, like I said, he both enhances and diminishes Fisk. So it gives him some tension. It gives him some, interest and depth as a character. It's not just like an all powerful thing. It's like, maybe sometimes other organizations aren't going to really feel that you're that powerful and they're going to step right over you. And how are you going to react to that? Are you, just opening the door and are you like a little rubber stamp or are you wanting to seize a piece of this power, demand some respect? Are you going to be, is there some bigger player that you're going to be in fear of or, you know, so there's at least some interest there for me to see what happens with this relationship.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Wilson moving from Kingpin to Mayor is a downgrade, because when you put a
Right.
Mayor title to it, you are like placing yourself within a hierarchy and a legal
Mhm.
system, whole deal. When you're kingpin, you're outside of that. And
Right.
so
You
you
make your
can
own rules.
theoretically be above the president or whoever, because you have people everywhere and you're,
Right.
that
Right.
kind of thing. So obviously he's building that kind of network back again. So maybe he can have his own power plays yet. Like you think you're so in control here. And yeah,
Mhm.
I'm mayor of New York, but I'm not really. That's the
Right.
um to allow me to get by with all the other stuff here.
Right. I
I
did, staying on Fisk for just a minute, I did like a lot of the camera angles, and body placement in shots that he was in. They really did a great job punching up his size.
sure.
They did a lot of like him in the forefront and people in the back to make him look, or he was seated a certain way, or like they were shooting kind of like upward angles, to make him look even larger. So I just noted that in like several frames. I thought that that was really well done cinematography and well framed shots that way.
Yeah, I wonder what all like costuming they're doing because Vincent D'Onofrio is obviously much smaller. I mean, he's a much
Yeah,
better than when he first started. So,
yeah. Yeah, I definitely think there's like a costuming element, and there was like a when they're like I said, they're seated at the table, him, Vanessa, and Mr. Charles. I wondered if there was like some seating height alterations that some people were
right.
clear, clearly above others. Just um, but all in all, I thought the effect was well done.
Nice. Makes me think of something from Dune, but I won't bring it up now because it'll be like then it'd probably be some so um okay, yeah. They also I think need to we do need to address like we don't have to now, but the
Sure.
show needs to address Wilson's motivations. Like
Yeah.
they did a good job of having that sort of in the Netflix series of he's a boy, he sees his father, learns like the violence from him, like strength, how important that is, and
Yes.
it's all messed up, but he's like he wants to make New York better, his idea of better, and he wants to have that sort of control, but he's also like gonna enrich himself. He's used to like, I can take what I want. That's the way it should be. I don't know. Like he just has if this is just a vendetta now, like is it just that he's used to losing control and he's afraid of that? So it's like, I am shaping New York how I want. If there's
Mhm.
difficulties, I lose the control to do so.
Mhm.
Therefore, I mean, I guess maybe that's all it is. That can work versus like a
I
vengeance.
mean, yeah, it certainly seems that way to now. It would be interesting to give it something deeper, um, and give it a little bit more oomph, in terms of a storyline, but we'll see.
Yeah. Um, Either way, especially for a new audience that hasn't been with Wilson Fisk for a while, maybe we need to
Mhm.
remind a little bit in
Yeah,
peek of him.
yeah,
So,
maybe some flashback action. Um,
mhm,
we've certainly used it for other characters, and I think this show, as it appears, is not afraid of the flashback. I mean, like you were saying, we have pictures of Ben, popping up and memories of him. Um, a very surprising kind of PTSD flashback for Matt Murdock at the end. Um,
yeah,
there's a whole tension there that we
obvious.
can get to in a minute. But yeah, so this show it's not afraid of a flashback. So maybe it's time for Fisk to get one, so we can kind of be
Yeah,
reintroduced to
that
some origins.
makes sense. Um, what else is going on? So we've obviously jumped forward in time some degree. I don't know how far because Matt and Karen are just like on the run and dating. So that was all kind of
Yeah,
surprise.
romancy mancy.
Mhm. But I'm super happy the psychologist, the therapist is
Bye.
out of that picture. Yeah. Uh,
Her
you know,
whole
it's
character could be gone, and I would not shed a tear.
well, see, she's more interesting to me now anyways. It's like someone that she got wrapped up and now she's stuck in this. Now she's stuck.
Mhm.
She has to compromise her
But she
values.
likes it sort of, but she doesn't. Like, I don't know. I am interested in her sense of PTSD, from obviously being taken last season, and having her client, I cannot remember his name, his actual name, being obsessed with her. So I'm interested in her kind of like dealing with that. I am not interested in her like pseudo power play as she's interviewing and doing a psych eval for the swordsman. That felt very weak. Um, and like that smarmy attorney calling her Hochberg, and he's like, "Oh, I think you entered some data wrong." And she's like, "Oh yeah, I entered the data wrong." It's like who lives to be a rubber stamp? That is so boring. Um, I would
She's
I would find
yeah,
that. I mean, I know she's in the web and, she's gotta, like, make the best of it while also dealing with her PTSD. But, yeah, it made me think about, my own life and work, and if that was, like, my job was literally people called me up and told me what to do, I would be like, "What is the point of me? What is the point of what I do?" Um, so, yeah. So I'm a little bit over her, as you can clearly tell. I'm not making any secret of that.
I wrote in the notes, I was like, "What is this evaluation?" It's like this guy's been locked up in a cell on the
And you wanna
floor
know about
no
mechanics
trial or
magazines?
anything. Well, I just thought like then she's like, you know, she asks a question, he doesn't answer it, so it's like disrespects authority or whatever.
Yeah.
Excuse yeah, I don't know. It's just very large accusations based off of a single question.
Nothing. Yeah,
Yeah,
based off of nothing. Yeah, I mean, it definitely felt like when to me, when she was writing that she was already trying to, like, kind of cook this evaluation,
yeah, right. Exactly.
she was already clearly, reaching for things to write
Mhm.
about him, and then Hochberg calling her and being like, "Oh, that's not enough. I need him to be even more," and she's just like, "Cool, I guess I'll just, keep it right on rolling." Yeah, that
Yep.
was just like I said, I felt pretty pathetic.
Well, are there any other big points we had to get to? We have moving pieces. We're back with our characters. We got the retired detective that's had
Jerry,
a
I
heart
love him
attack here.
so
I don't know.
much. I love him so much. He's such like a good he plays a trope of like the weary detective, but he plays it very well in such that I find him refreshing. And I find
Yeah,
his humor one of the bright spots of this show. There's not a lot of always room for laughter in Daredevil,
yeah.
and he is good at bringing that. So, I love
He
him.
something that makes it feel a little more uh like it makes me take the show a little more seriously.
Yes.
It's probably just hey, I don't know, because ultimately that's I think one of my bigger problems with the show, and we'll see if like enough of the elements of this series can make up for it. But it feels like something that is trying to tell you it's an adult show, but it isn't necessarily doesn't really feel like an adult show. You
Yeah,
know,
it doesn't always land.
yeah, it's like if you watch um True Detective season 1, that's a show for adults. Like they don't have to swear a lot or whatever, but it looks it. You can feel it in the performances, the gravitas of the people, the patience the show has, whatever. And I thought that for the most part, outside of some of the more melodramatic bits of the Netflix series Daredevil,
Mhm.
did that was one of the more impressive things about it. It felt like,
Agreed.
hey, here's a grounded superhero adult show, and
Mhm.
a lot of things can't achieve that balance. Um, and I think that the Born Again the people working on it is just not managing to get that. And that's not
Mhm.
necessary. It's just not it makes it feel like it's not as high quality as the Netflix series was.
I would
It's
agree with
like, here's
that.
a superhero TV show. And it's like every once in a while something like The Dark Knight comes around. It's like, wow, I took that very seriously. There was real stakes and
Mhm.
drama there, and like, yeah, I bought it. And so I don't know what they can do about that. I don't know if it's the cast. I don't know if it's cast plus cinematography. I don't know if it's
Mhm.
more on the writing. I don't know. Or again,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah. I don't think it's the cast because there are just so many people now that we know and love from Netflix that I don't think it is.
Look at Fisk's right hand man, right? He's the replacement
Buck.
for Buck. He's the
Yeah.
replacement for um, I can't remember his name now, but he
Oh,
was
yeah, I know.
he was really convincing
The
in
guy
the
who was
next
after
series.
Karen, right?
Yes. Um, and Buck feels like a pale imitation. Is it his fault? I don't know. Like, but he just doesn't have
Yeah.
the same. It's just not the same. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's difficult because he's such a good, like, slick right hand in terms of, like, if you're just looking at Fisk as Mayor Fisk, but
Hmm.
when you're thinking of him as Kingpin, like, you're right, he's not as frightening, he's not as dark.
Hmm.
Um, even this whole thing with, they were finding the ship captain and trying to be like, "Oh, like, what do you know? Where's your other guy?" And he just, like, walked in and was like, "I'm fairly certain Buck's going to just murder this guy." And he did
Right.
it. And I was like, "Yeah, that feels like a move Buck would do," but I wasn't like, "Ooh, like, dark, you know, murder, like, Buck is scary." It was just like, that
Mhm.
that feels like his solution. And so
Sure.
it didn't, ring as darkly as it maybe could have.
Yeah. Hmm. I don't know. Something to be. I'm gonna be thinking about it as I go. As we
Mhm.
go,
Yeah.
I'm just in that state with this show, with my mixed reception of season 1. I'm just
Mhm.
gonna be picking at it as I go through until it, like, fully absorbs me, until it's like, "Ooh, I'm locked in," and
Mhm.
then some of that stuff just doesn't come to the forefront. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be thinking of the camera angle choices. I'm gonna be thinking about when it dollies in and pulls out. I'm gonna thinking about the music. I'm in that mode on this show right now.
Mhm.
So it's something I wouldn't maybe thought before. Like, I really like the pan in they do. They did the old effect, pulling into Daredevil on the ship, but then they also
Yep.
changed the effect and widened it out. That was cool, but it was only to hear a wristwatch. It was like,
Yeah.
so, like, normally I wouldn't maybe critique that because it was a cool shot, but it's like that's just for a wrist. So I'm in that mode. So
Sure.
apologies. I'm gonna be looking at the show through the kind of critical lens until it really has me um won
I think
over.
that's
And
fair. I think that's fair.
the
Um,
one other big thing I want to say, I guess, is like we
yeah.
clearly have Bullseye. Bullseye
Oh,
open against Daredevil.
yes, I wanna get to that because I wanna talk, I was wanting to, before we closed out, talk about the first opening scene and the closing scene. Um, because the opening scene, I felt it was, like, so Daredevil-y. We had him, like, perched atop a building listening to something, as our ambient background noise. And then he, like, comes into the ship all darkness and spooky and, like, where is he? And he pops up. There's organ music playing, like, red lights everywhere. So it was just like it was so many, like, signals of Daredevil. Though I like the suit change. It's very, like I wrote, it's like very chainmail style,
Mm,
pebbly and gray. Um, yeah, so I thought that that opening was very, like I said, just like super Daredevil. It wasn't like, oh my God, it's so dark and adult and, other stuff like that. It was just like, oh, like all of these hallmarks. But then I felt like the final scene, in contrast, I did get some of the like, this is dark. Oh my God, stuff is happening that I'm not expecting, you know, um, between, Cherry clearly struggling from his surprise police break into his home and beat down. I
Yeah.
was like seriously worried that Cherry was going to die.
Yep.
I was worried that Matt seemed to be struggling with some PTSD as he listened to Cherry's like, weakening heart, and he got
Yep.
some foggy flashbacks and that led to his own beat down. I was insanely like my mouth was actually open when those cops pulled off his mask and I was like, "They did it. Oh my god. Oh my god." Like, I definitely was like the whole time thinking like something's going to happen. Something's going to happen to save it. No my god. Oh my god. And, so I was very in that moment. And then yes, the other big surprise entry that we had is he did get saved by at least in terms of his identity, by Daredevil just massacring all of the cops in Cherry's apartment, and then yeah, throwing that knife, saying "You're welcome," which
Yeah. Bullseye. Yeah.
seems yeah, or sorry, yeah, bullseye, yeah, yeah, seems like a good and bad thing at the same time. Because I don't know that bullseye is an ally that you want to have, or that you
Mhm.
want bullseye to think you owe him a favor.
Right. Well, at
So
the beginning
yeah,
on the ship,
that
I
whole
thought it's like, where'd this gunshot come? How that so it was already there. So I was like,
yeah.
it was explained then. All right, perfect. But yeah, I agree. Is that an ally you want? I guess if you can't focus and keep your shit together, I guess, yeah,
Yeah.
in trouble. So, mhm.
Yeah, I do, I thought this opening episode was okay to solid, like it wasn't like blowing my mind, but it was a
Mhm.
solid floor to start, hopefully, going upward. And then yeah, this last scene, I was kind of feeling that, like you said, sucked in, very, just swept up in the story of the show and what is going to happen here in this apartment. So
Sure,
well done. Well done leaving off that way, I think.
sure. All right. Well, very good. That's episode 1 of season 2, Daredevil Born Again. We'll see where it goes from here. Yeah, I can't make a. It's. I'm gonna keep watching. We'll
Mhm.
see moments. We have some interesting threads to pull on. So
Mhm.
that's and yeah, happy it's fun. It's back. I wonder. I think that maybe they'll get this season. I wonder if they get this season and no more. If it doesn't like do real,
Mm,
or I wonder what its
sure.
future is, if and how many they give it before it like they
That's a
need
fair
results. You
question.
know. So
Let's see.
'cause season 1 did not live up to expectations from my understanding, and,
Yep, very true.
so, you know, we'll see what kind of numbers this one makes, but, um, okay. Well,
They
that's
seem to suggest it might be greenlit, but an overwhelming it's not an overwhelming consensus that that's actually the case.
okay.
So there yeah, it seems a little up in the air. Like it's been hinted at and rumored at, but it's not as solid as to be, expected necessarily.
They probably know where they wanna go, but that doesn't mean they've gotten the green light yet, so
Exactly. Yep. It's a fair assessment.
alright, well, everybody, thank you for, tuning in today. Make sure you like, share, subscribe on all the applicable places. This is Popcast on the Rocks. Killing the Flower wrote our theme song. You find them on music streaming services. Check them out. Mike, his racing content. It's now just
Mhm.
uh, Mike Bryant Racing, I believe. So you
Mhm.
can for Mike Bryant Racing. He's getting heated up and ready to go for racing season.
Mhm.
So that should be good. Peter J. Gilbertson, look at his books on Amazon.com. And then next week, probably be back with another anime episode, Ohio anime, hopefully. Um, if things go to schedule, we'll be talking about Hell's Paradise at that point, continuing with the new season of that, and probably a recap on how things went at Anime Detour. So
Mhm.
some year, I guess we can always just have a panel at Anime Detour,
True.
host a podcast from the thing, but you know, I don't know. I don't feel like that right now. So, someday,
Not this year.
yeah. So, anyways, everybody, make sure you, yeah, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see everybody next time. Thank you, Andrea.
Of course. As always. Cheers, everybody.